The restaurant was full of soft music, clinking glasses, and the quiet laughter of people who seemed to have everything in life. Yet, in one corner booth, a scene unfolded that silenced the air and made time stand still. A young woman, her hands gently resting on her pregnant belly, flinched as the man beside her, the man everyone knew as a powerful CEO, suddenly raised his hand and struck her across the face. The sound of the slap echoed louder than any melody playing in the background, and the room froze. Gasps filled the air, eyes widened in disbelief, but no one moved. Everyone stared, shocked, unsure of whether to intervene or pretend they hadn't seen it. But in the kitchen, behind swinging doors and sizzling pans, a man had heard everything. He wasn't just any chef. He was her brother, a former Navy SEAL, and in that moment, blood ties, love, and duty collided with fury. Before I continue with this powerful story, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the strength of family standing up for one another, please take a moment to like this video, share it, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to Stories Collection. Your support helps us spread more heart-touching stories like this one. Her name was Emily, and to the world, she seemed to have it all. She was married to Nathan Cross, a CEO worth millions, a man who commanded boardrooms and adorned magazine covers. People envied her life, the mansion, the expensive clothes, the diamond that glistened on her finger. But what no one saw was the truth behind closed doors. For years, Nathan's love had turned cold. His voice, once warm, had become sharp. His hands, once gentle, had grown violent. Emily had learned to cover bruises with makeup, to swallow tears when paparazzi snapped photos, and to smile when the world expected perfection. But now, with a child on the way, her courage began to grow inside her, even as fear threatened to crush it. She had agreed to dinner that night, hoping that maybe Nathan would soften, that maybe the man she had once fallen in love with would return. She wanted peace for her unborn baby, wanted hope for a family that had already started breaking. But instead of tenderness, Nathan gave her rage. In the middle of a fine dining restaurant, surrounded by strangers, he lifted his hand against her, unashamed. Emily's heart cracked, not just for herself, but for the tiny life she carried. In the kitchen, a man named Ryan froze mid-step. The noise of the slap, faint but sharp, reached his ears through the swinging doors. Ryan had spent years in war zones, hearing screams, gunfire, and chaos, but something about this sound pierced him deeper. He peeked through the door just in time to see his sister's head turn from the force of Nathan's blow. His chest tightened. Memories of their childhood flooded back. The little sister he had carried on his shoulders, the one who had written him letters during his deployments, the one he had sworn to protect even when life tore them apart. Rage boiled inside him, but so did a fierce calm he had mastered in combat. Ryan wasn't just her brother. He was her shield, and no man, not even a wealthy CEO, was going to hurt her again. Emily's eyes welled with tears as she sat frozen. Her cheek stung, but worse than that was the humiliation. People were staring. Some whispered. Some looked away. Not one person stood for her. She wanted to disappear, wanted the ground to swallow her whole. Then, suddenly, the kitchen doors burst open. Ryan stepped out, his chef's jacket tight across his broad shoulders, his eyes locked on Nathan with a deadly calm. His presence was commanding, as if the room shifted under his weight. Nathan, startled, tried to dismiss him, waving his hand as though Ryan were just another servant. But Ryan's gaze never faltered. He didn't need to shout. He didn't need to explain. The whole restaurant could feel the storm that lived in him. Emily's heart skipped when she recognized him. She hadn't known her brother worked here. Their lives had grown distant. His years in the military, his struggles to find peace in civilian life, his silence. But now, here he was, like fate itself had placed him in the very moment she needed him most. Tears streamed down her face, not only from pain, but from a strange, sudden relief. Nathan smirked, arrogant and dismissive. To him, Ryan was nothing, a cook, a nobody. But to Emily, Ryan was everything. The air grew thick as Ryan slowly walked toward the table, each step heavy with unspoken warning. Nathan's confidence faltered. There was something in Ryan's eyes, a quiet danger, the kind that belonged to men who had faced death and survived. The restaurant watched in silence. Forks clattered to plates, breaths caught in throats. Ryan leaned down, his voice low but firm, words only Nathan could hear. And though the crowd couldn't make them out, they saw Nathan's expression shift, from pride, to discomfort, to a flicker of fear. Emily's hand trembled as Ryan gently helped her stand. He wrapped an arm around her, steady and protective, leading her away from the table as if she were the only person who mattered. Nathan sat frozen, unsure whether to lash out or shrink back, but the weight of Ryan's presence left him powerless. For the first time in his life, Nathan realized money and power couldn't shield him from a brother's fury, from the bond of family, from justice delivered not in courtrooms but in the simple, undeniable force of love. That night marked a turning point. Emily found her voice again. With Ryan by her side, she pressed charges, she filed for divorce, and she built a new life. It wasn't easy. The scars inside her ran deep. There were sleepless nights, court battles, moments of doubt. But Ryan never left her side. He cooked her meals when she was too tired to eat. He held her hand at doctor's appointments. He whispered to her unborn baby that everything was going to be okay. Slowly, Emily began to believe it. Slowly, the pieces of her broken heart began to mend. When her baby was born, Ryan was the first to hold her after Emily. He looked down at his niece with tears in his eyes, whispering a silent promise. She would never know the pain her mother endured, because he would always protect them both. Emily smiled through tears, feeling, for the first time in years, safe. And Nathan, his empire began to crumble. Shareholders pulled away, scandals spread, and the mask he wore before the world shattered. People saw him for who he truly was, and the wealth he valued so much became meaningless compared to the family he had lost. Emily rose from ashes stronger than she had ever imagined. Not because she had money. Not because life had been kind. But because she had found her courage, her strength, and the unbreakable bond of a brother who had been her warrior in every sense. If this story touched your heart, if it made you believe again in the power of family, resilience, and second chances, please like this video, share it, and subscribe to Stories Collection. And most importantly, leave a comment below. Your words mean more than you know, and they help us continue bringing you stories that matter. Special request. Before you leave, comment one word that describes how this story made you feel. Courtroom battles, motherhood struggles, etc. That way, it will perfectly match YouTube long story format. Emily never forgot that night in the restaurant. The sting of Nathan's slap faded, but the memory of humiliation, of sitting there while strangers stared in silence, lingered like a wound. Carved into her spirit. Sometimes, in the stillness of night, she would hear the echo of it, the sharp crack of skin against skin, and wake up trembling, clutching her belly as though shielding her unborn child from shadows that couldn't touch them anymore. But woven into that memory was something else, something stronger. The moment the kitchen doors had burst open, and Ryan had walked toward her. It was as if life itself had sent her a protector, a reminder that she wasn't alone. That was the moment she realized she didn't have to keep pretending, didn't have to endure cruelty in silence. That single act of her brother standing by her side planted the seed of courage that grew stronger each day. After leaving the restaurant, Ryan had insisted she come with him. His small apartment above the restaurant wasn't grand, it smelled faintly of garlic and coffee, and the furniture was second-hand, but to Emily, it was the first place in years where she felt safe. Ryan brewed her tea, made her sit on the couch, and just listened. For hours, she poured out what she had hidden from everyone: the verbal abuse, the bruises concealed beneath sleeves, the way Nathan belittled her until she believed she was nothing. She wept until her body ached, and Ryan just sat there, silent and steady, letting her know she was heard. Ryan had always been her hero. When they were kids, he was the one who chased bullies away from the playground, who fixed her bike when the chain broke, who promised her she could do anything if she just believed. But life had separated them, his deployments overseas, his struggles with PTSD after years in combat, his restless search for peace. He had taken the job as a chef partly to escape the noise of the world, to find a rhythm in chopping vegetables and stirring sauces. He had thought his life no longer had purpose beyond survival. Yet, seeing Emily walk into his restaurant that night reminded him that his mission had never ended. His purpose was still to protect, but now, it wasn't strangers in war zones, it was his own sister and her unborn child. Days turned into weeks. Nathan's anger didn't fade, if anything, it grew. He sent lawyers to Emily's door, threatened to ruin her, spread lies in the press about her being unstable. He thought money could buy him control the way it always had. But this time, Emily wasn't alone. Ryan stood beside her in court, his military posture unwavering, his voice steady as he testified about what he had witnessed. His presence alone told the judge and jury everything they needed to know. Emily wasn't just another woman filing for divorce. She was a woman who had survived abuse, who had the courage to break free, and who had the strength of family fighting for her. Nathan lost custody. He lost the case. And slowly, he began to lose the empire he had built on arrogance and cruelty. Emily watched from afar, not with vengeance, but with quiet relief. For once, she wasn't afraid of him anymore. For once, she didn't carry shame, it belonged to him now. When Emily gave birth, the moment was both painful and healing. As she held her baby girl for the first time, tears blurred her vision. She whispered promises that this child would never know the kind of fear she had endured, that her world would be built on love, laughter, and security. Ryan was there too, holding the baby close, his rough hands trembling as if he were afraid to break something so pure. He whispered her name, and Emily knew then that her daughter would grow up with not just a mother who fought for her, but an uncle who would stand guard for the rest of his life. The journey wasn't easy. Emily faced long nights when she wondered how she would raise a child on her own, moments when the scars on her heart reopened at the smallest triggers. But Ryan reminded her she was stronger than she knew. He reminded her that scars didn't mean weakness, they meant survival. Slowly, Emily began to rebuild her life. She found work she loved, started laughing again, and created a home filled with warmth instead of fear. The restaurant where it all began became a symbol for her. She often visited Ryan there, sitting at the corner table with her baby beside her, watching him move through the kitchen with a steady rhythm. The staff adored him, the customers respected him, but only Emily knew the depth of his story, the soldier who had fought wars far away and then fought the most important battle of all, right here at home, for the sister he loved. And whenever she looked at her daughter's face, she remembered the night everything changed. The slap that broke her, the silence that suffocated her, and the brother who stepped into the fire to save her. That night, she realized something she had almost forgotten. She was worthy of love, respect, and safety. And now, she had all three. If this story touched your heart, if it made you believe again in the strength of family and the courage to walk away from abuse, please like this video, share it, and subscribe to Stories Collection. And most importantly, leave your thoughts in the comments. Every word you write helps us keep telling stories that matter. Special request before we end. Write one word in the comments that describes how this story made you feel.